Hi, everybody. I'm Tanya Marie Dubé, and you are watching The Empowered Woman. Thank you so much for showing up today. I'm so happy that you're here. Today's guest is Kathryn Ford. She is the dynamic founder and CEO of Excellence Institute, which is a premier community for sophisticated, extraordinary women looking to live a life filled with an abundance of health, wealth, and love. She is an award-winning personal and professional mentor, coach, and international speaker, and she's also the #1 best-selling author with Amazon for her book, Be Well, a 7-step system for radical healing. And she was also nominated for Woman of the Year by the Los Angeles Business Journal. So welcome, Kathryn. I'm so happy you're here today.
Thank you so much, Tanya. Hello to you and to everyone out there today that's listening and watching. I'm so happy to be here with you.
That's awesome. I'm so happy to have you. I want everybody to, again, as usual, we'll be talking about Kathryn's free gift to you. She has a wonderful gift for you. We're going to talk about it at the end, and she's going to tell you how you can use it in your life. So, okay, are you ready to get started?
I am ready.
All right, so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the work you do, who you serve, and what led you to get to this place in your life.
Well, I think what I'll do is start with sharing my story. My journey is exactly what led me to doing this work in the world. Okay. So almost 30 years ago, I was 26 years old or 29 years ago, busy climbing the corporate ladder. And I was working really hard and doing really well, driving home one day from work, and I had this really bad headache. And, I didn't think much of it. I took a couple aspirin, went to bed, and would end up going blind in my left eye. Wow. So, of course, I was just in shock. I was living in Minnesota at the time. So I went down to Mayo Clinic to have some experts take a look at me. And they gave me the devastating news at the age of 26 that I had multiple sclerosis.
Wow.
So, oh my gosh, it was just something that really brought me to my knees. And they were really very much coming from a place of love, explaining to me what was likely to happen, all of the things that I should be prepared for, the physical loss and all of that would happen to me, likely in a wheelchair and those types of things. And the doctors and nurses left the room, and I said to myself, no, I am going to be in this tiny percentage of people that does really, really well. I'm going to be a medical miracle, and no one is going to be able to explain why, but that's what I'm going to do. And I'm so grateful that at the age of 26, I had the presence of mind to claim that for myself.
That's amazing.
Oh my gosh, it was so
You have a fighter spirit. I love it.
I do. Yeah. And so I set out and started researching, and it was difficult to do research back then because there was no internet or anything. So I was, researching whatever I could find all over the world as far as complementary holistic medicine, how we could tap into the power that we all have within us. Mm-hmm. So I was on this journey. Fast forward 22 years later, I found out I had been misdiagnosed.
Wow.
So another shock. And so misdiagnosed, but actually, the new diagnosis is something far worse than multiple sclerosis.
Wow.
It's called neuromyelitis optica.
And this is something that you had the whole 22 years?
I had the whole 22 years, yes. But we all thought I had multiple sclerosis, MS, right? Yeah. So at that time, I found out there was an expert in the world now at Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, who was an expert on this very rare condition, NMO. So I made an appointment with him, went down to see him. He walked in the room, kind of turned around to leave, and looked back at me and said, "Are you Kathryn Ford?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Oh my gosh, I cannot believe it. You don't even look like someone who's had MS for 22 years, let alone this worst condition. What are you doing besides the medication we have you on?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to take that as a compliment because I haven't been hearing very good news lately." And he said, "You need to take it as a compliment. Really, I want you to. And I'm serious. I want to know everything that you're doing." So I started to share with him all the practices and methods and principles that I was doing on myself, every tool I was using. And he said, "Oh, Kathryn, you have got to get this out into the world." And we had a fabulous discussion about how we all have some sort of dis-ease. And we talked about how, some people, they can't find the love of their life. Other people, just can't seem to make ends meet, or they can't find what they're passionate about. And then there's other people like me who are having this health expression. I like to call it a health expression instead of a disease or a condition or something.
Yeah.
Everything in our life relates to everything else. And it was just phenomenal. And he said, again, you really need to get this out into the world. You can help so many people. And I hadn't thought about that at that time. I was just really concerned about helping myself, right? And I thought, you know what, he's right. And then right before I was getting ready to leave, he said, you know what, there's one more thing that I have to share with you. And I could see this was not going to be good news, just by the look on his face. And he asked me, when is your next injection? And I said, well, it's tonight. And at that point of the 22 years, I had been on 16 and a half years of a chemotherapy type of drug for MS.
Oh my God.
But I didn't have MS. And it was really hard to stay on. It was as though I had the flu for 16 and a half years. And he said, I'm so sorry to tell you this, but that medication is actually harmful to someone with your condition. And literally, Tanya, it was like he punched me in the stomach. I could not believe what I was hearing.
I can't believe that after going through all of that, you're alive and thriving. I mean,
so
that's a serious medication you were on.
Serious medication. I still actually have permanent physical damage from the medication.
Wow.
So I closed my eyes and I had this flood of emotion running through my body. And it was toxic emotion. You know, I was angry and I was sort of feeling like resentful, like, oh my gosh, how could this be happening to me? And then it hit me. I opened up my eyes and I said, you know what, doctor? I have a very powerful mind. In fact, I've been developing that power for the last 22 years. And I believed that medication was helping me, so I know it didn't hurt me. And he took a deep breath and he said, we're sticking with that. And I said,
you're a scientist's dream, I think.
So I was just like firm in that. I'm like, the only person, if I keep this going in my physical world and in my inner world, the only person who's going to be hurt by these emotions is me.
Is you.
And, yeah. So I released it immediately. And he said to me again, this proves even more powerfully. You've had something working against you, literally against you for 16 and a half years. And look how great you're doing.
And not just working against you, but is an actual like it's working against what's wrong with you, and it didn't get worse. Like, that's shocking to me. That's amazing.
Exactly. And that's what he said. And then I would go on to have a couple of more doctors say the same thing. So I thought, you know what? This is my purpose in life. It really, really is. Because I think it was Steve Jobs who said, you know, we can all go back and connect the dots in our life.
Right.
And for me, I had this beautiful HR career with a large corporation here, and I was doing a lot of high-level coaching. So essentially, I took that coaching background and then all of my research that I had done on what does it really take to thrive? Because I knew through my research that it's not just about treating a physical condition, it's looking at the relationships in our life. Mm-hmm. Are those rich and beautiful relationships? It's looking at our purpose in life. Do we have a purpose? Mm-hmm. You know, are we able to really realize the wealth and success we would love, the time and money freedom? Are we making a difference in the world? All of those things affect our health, and our health affects everything else. So I took the HR coaching background, merged it with all of this research that I was, you know, practicing on myself, and made a blueprint for other people in the world so that they can easily duplicate what I've done. And so I founded Excellence Institute, and here's why I'm doing what I'm doing today. And I know beyond a shadow of a doubt I'm on the planet to be doing this work and helping other people really thrive and live a life of excellence.
Wow. I love social experiments, and I think you are like the grandest social experiment. I think this is fantastic. Your story is phenomenal. And I have to say, I've mentioned this a few times during the summit already. I think that when we can find the gift inside of the adversity, when we see why, it's like for you, I always say for me, I have a master's degree in overcoming adversity, right? Because I've had to do it so many times. And for you, you have this master's degree in what you teach. I mean, this is what you're here to do.
Yes,
so there was such a gift in that, right? Yeah.
There really is.
Wow.
And so I'm so privileged to be able to help others really find their life of excellence and live that every day.
And their soul's calling, their purpose.
Soul's calling, their purpose, yes.
Wow. I love the work that you do. I think that's fantastic.
You.
So now let me ask you, so because the summit is all about women's empowerment, what do you feel about women's empowerment and how do you infuse that into your work?
Oh my gosh, it's very, very important to me. Women's empowerment and empowerment in general, just being able to tap in to finding who we are and then going out there and being of service to others and empowering ourselves to become the best that we can be. We all just have this one life right now on planet Earth, and to really be all that we can be. It's so vitally important. And when you've been faced with losing so much as I have in my life, the possibility of that, and saying, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to let that happen. I know firsthand, and that's why I show others how to tap in to their power to live their best life.
Oh my goodness, you are a shining example of what can happen when you look at your life in a positive way and you move forward using the tools you have and helping other people. I mean,
definitely.
That's it.
And to claim responsibility for what's happening in our life too is a big part of being empowered, right? Taking that and saying, you know what? No, I have the power to transform this. And there are tools out there, highly effective tools. And I work with my clients using these tools to show them how to use them so that they can claim their power and then use that to create whatever they would love.
Whatever they want. I love that.
Whatever they want, to be able to create the life of their dreams so that they can live the way they want to live, have the experiences they want to have, give the way they want to give back to the world, and really live this beautiful life of full spectrum wealth.
Oh gosh, I love it. It's beautiful. You're very eloquent. I think that's lovely.
Thank you.
I wanted to talk a little bit about your book, your #1 bestseller with Amazon, Be Well, a seven-step system for radical healing. Why did you write this? This book is exactly in direct correlation to what you went through.
Absolutely. It's part memoir, and then I share my 7-step system, an overview of that. And I really wanted to help as many people as I could, which is why I wrote my book. And that's also why I shared my story in my book, because I wanted people to know where I have been, living in a very sick body. And it was no mistake. I was in a very toxic relationship and working way, way too many hours, had zero balance in my life, right? And so I see how all of these things made such a difference, and it was sort of the perfect storm that happened in my life when I was 26 and received this diagnosis. And I'm trying to think I think it was Dr. Bernie Siegel, actually, who wrote the foreword to my book, who said, if we take a look at what was going on in our lives the year or two prior to a diagnosis, there are usually some clues. Wow. And for me, I could see when I did that and really took a good, honest, hard look at my life, what was going on with my primary relationship at that time, and what was going on with just the amount of work that I was doing and ignoring some things and pushing some things away that really needed my attention, both physically, emotionally, and then spiritually for my soul, not feeding my soul enough. So my diagnosis was a wake-up call for sure. Yeah.
I love that you just talked about what you just said before. I mean, what was happening to you before. I was making some notes as you were talking, and I thought, so there's 2 things I want to ask you. One is, how did you end up finding that balance? And because you were working too much, how did you, for women who think that they have to, and I'm one of these women, I used to be one of these women where I didn't put flex time into my schedule. I didn't plan my trips and build my life around my trips, stuff like that. So how did you do that? How did you do that?
Well, through my research, I discovered how important that piece is. I didn't see it as important before. So that was the first step, to see, everything is about our awareness. So that came into my awareness. And then that from there really allowed me to take a look at it and realize, oh my gosh, I'm doing this literally backwards.
Because if you're going to run yourself into the ground, you're going to end up with some kind of dis-ease, right? For sure.
That dis-ease is going to show up. Yes, definitely.
Okay, the other thing I wanted to ask you is what would you say to women who are in toxic relationships who have a dream and know that they have to fulfill their soul's destiny, but they can't while they're inside of this relationship? What do you think about that?
That's such a good question.
Mm.
Depending on the level of toxicity, and first of all, we always have a choice. We always, and absolutely most of the time, many choices.
Mhm.
I was in a very toxic relationship, and for some reason, throughout that relationship, most of it, I didn't feel like I had a choice. We always have choices. So I'm here to tell women all over the world, we always have choices. So if indeed you really try and you are giving it all you've got and your partner is not stepping up, you may have to do what I did and remove yourself from that relationship, because it really does make a huge difference in your life when you're in a healthy relationship, or even no relationship, versus a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
And I found it critically important in my life to make that separation. Sometimes it just needs some distance created, and other times, couples can work it out. It just depends on the level of severity. So, but once you are, have that piece taken care of, the sky is really the limit for you.
Yeah.
And it's important to surround yourself with healthy relationships that allow you to thrive and they're vibrant. I always like to say there's power in rich relationships. I recently got engaged and I'm getting married this year, so I'm thank you. I'm calling this the year of intimacy, and it's true. It truly is for me in every facet of my life. But my David, my partner, my love, allows for me to thrive. And so I really appreciate that. And I think when we have experienced a toxic relationship, it's just, you appreciate the really beautiful ones so much.
Aww.
And they're out there. I'm here to tell people they're out there. Yes.
Good. 2 years ago, I walked out of a very toxic relationship, as you know. I walked out with my 2 children, and that was pretty much it. My books, the things that meant the most to us. And I have to tell you, I was put in this position where I was so emotionally blocked and so spiritually blocked. I couldn't love myself properly, but I knew that I had to take this business and this idea and what I'm put on this earth to do. I knew I had to take it forward, and I couldn't breathe in that relationship. So yeah, I think I'm really glad that we talked a little bit about that today, because it's so important when you're talking about your soul's calling. You can't have the negativity and the toxic relationships.
No, absolutely not.
Wow. Okay. Well, now I'd like to get into the 8 questions that I ask every woman who comes on to the interview. Okay. So please, I'm going to throw them at you, and first thought, best thought, whatever you want to say, I would love to hear. So the first question is, what inspires you?
My life and my clients and my family and friends inspire me. The possibilities that are out there for all of us. I am here to tell you, nothing brings me more joy than when I am working with a client and I watch her take one quantum leap after another. And I get a phone call and she says, "Kathryn, you're not going to believe this. Guess what happened to me?" And I'm like, "Yes, I will. I just can't wait to, I'm going to believe it. And I can't wait to hear what it is."
Yes, I will.
It's just so much fun, because I'm helping women discover the possibilities that are beyond their wildest dreams for them. And I just love that.
Wow.
Why I get up every morning and say, I love my life, because I'm so honored to be a part of these women's lives.
That's so beautiful. I love that. Your whole face lights up when you talk about it.
I love my clients. Oh my gosh, I really do.
That's beautiful. I love that. In your opinion, how do we live an awakened life?
We live an awakened life by honoring what our soul is calling for, what our spirit is calling for, what our mind is calling for, and what our body even is calling for. So it's this whole mind, body, spirit. And when we are honoring what we each need, and everyone's need is different, and we take a deep dive in Oceans of Wellness, a Fountain of Youth, to discover this. That is the first piece in, I believe, really living an awakened life. It's honoring yourself first, practicing self-love, because until you love yourself enough, it's hard to really be awake to things. It's hard to really know. And I believe we're on the planet to love and to be loved and to discover what that feels like. So that's my first step in living an awakened life. And then there are ways to open up to it and to expand your vessel. But I believe it starts with that.
I love that. And you already answered another one of my questions down the line. What is the purpose of the human experience? Love that.
Yes, thank you. I believe.
I know it happens. It happens a few times, right? Because it's such these answers that come with these kinds of questions are they cover a lot of space, right? A lot of territory. My next question for you is, what can we learn when we fall down? What does that mean to you?
When we fall down, sometimes people will call it a failure. It's really not a failure at all. It's a stepping stone. And I realized throughout my journey that every time I took a fall, if I could just turn and look for the gifts, just turn my attention and my awareness towards the gifts, looking for the gifts, finding the gifts, it made all the difference in the world. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing today, even because I was able, when I got that diagnosis of the misdiagnosis and then the new diagnosis and all this crazy adversity was happening in my life, I chose to just trust. I trusted in the divine, and I said, I know there are gifts in here. I surely cannot see them now. I'm on my knees, but I know that they're here. And, I believe we all love, I do anyway, when we get things in the Tiffany box, right? It's so beautiful. And when things show up like that, it's so much fun. But I have found that some of life's greatest gifts show up in brown, tattered packages. And when we unpack them and take a look at them, they're just extraordinary.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful point. I do love that, because I think that sometimes in some of our darkest hours where we're feeling very hopeless, it's important to remember that this is one of the many experiences you have to have.
Yes.
Right? You just have to have them. It's like collecting tools to get through to the next challenge, right?
Yes, exactly. And I think, again, if we know, have a deep knowing in our heart, and it starts with trust, and then that deep knowing that we're being divinely guided. If we can just allow and not resist and find those gifts, because those gifts are in there for sure. Wow. And I have a great story of a client of mine who she was really wanting to get married, and all of her friends were married, and her friends were starting to have children, and she was in her late 30s, and she was like, I'm so frustrated because I'm not even dating, and this, one thing after another. Well, all of a sudden one day she called me up and said, oh, now I have more bad news. I was just laid off at work. And so I talked her through, what, this is a divine plan. And there are going to be gifts in this. Just do what you can with what you have every day. And of course, I was helping her, move through this whole process and giving her the tools to help her do that. Well, fast forward 6 months later, she found a new job. It didn't take that long, and a much better job. 6 months later, she met a man at this new company. A couple of years later, they were married, and she has 4 children now. And so I told her, let's look back on this.
Yeah.
This really hard situation, right? Yeah. You had to go through that to meet the man of your dreams.
That's it. And this is why we shouldn't stay in situations that don't serve us.
Exactly.
There's bridges that, cover from the place you are to the place you have to go, and you can't ignore those signs.
Exactly. But we have to trust. We have to trust. Yes. And I believe that pain in life is inevitable. Suffering is not.
Yes.
We all will go through some pain. We have to. But suffering is that's self-inflicted. If we keep our mind focused, ruminated on the hardship, on the pain, on the struggle, we will absolutely attract more of that and stay in it longer. And we're causing a lot of suffering.
I was talking about this the other day with my friend. I was talking about how it's so easy to stay in this negative mindset without really understanding. Like, you have to be consciously aware of your thoughts to some degree. We have something like 60,000 random thoughts a day. So to be conscious of where your language is inside of the thoughts that are present, the things that are going on in your life, and the stories you're telling yourself and the stories you're living inside of, if you're not aware of these things, you will create more of whatever it is that's happening.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And studies show that of those 60, 70,000 thoughts a day, for most people, 80% are negative. That's incredible.
That's a lot of toxic stuff going on in your mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's really important to have the skills to get back there, know how to get back there. Shine the light of awareness on a paradigm, which a lot of them came into our life when we were children, right? By well-meaning adults who, loving parents, teachers, other people in our life who just wanted us to be able to thrive in our life, but actually these paradigms are holding us back. So to be able to see that, shine the light of awareness, and then know there are so many techniques to release them, and then sort of install a new operating system, I like to say.
I love that. It's going over your belief systems.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love that. That's really good. That's awesome.
Very powerful.
Okay, so my next question to you is, how do we find the strength and the spirit to get back up? And we could speak specifically to your moment where you learned that what it was is not what it was, your diagnosis for MS, and moving forward.
By that time, knew. Of course, I had my human emotions. I was very upset when I first heard all of these things, and then about the medication. But I also knew that I held the power, and it was my choice to get back up. And I chose to get back up.
And we have more control than we think we do.
Oh, we do. And we have far more power than we think we do. Most people are not accessing near the amount of power that they have. Yeah. And once we find out how to access that, it's just, it makes life so much more amazing and easy too. I'm all about easy breezy. That's sort of my little phrase, and I love it. And so I teach women how to work smarter rather than harder, and how to bring all kinds of, how to raise your vibration. And it doesn't mean you have to climb the mountain. I show people how to just allow themselves to be lifted to the next vibration. We don't need to be like, working so hard to have things so much better, but just allow yourself to be lifted. And especially for women too, I love teaching women how to work smarter rather than harder, how to attract what they would love instead of having to go get what they would love. It's so, especially, tap into our divine feminine energy and use that beautiful sparkling energy to just effortlessly bring into our life what we would love. It's phenomenal. It's really
like your client who lost her job and went to the new job, and there you go.
Exactly.
Not that difficult when you learn to pay attention to pay attention to what you ask for, because you will get it.
Right.
And when you do get it, be aware that it's the thing that you've been asking for.
Exactly. And then to practice a whole lot of gratitude, because gratitude is the most powerful vibration on the planet, right after love. And when we practice gratitude, and I love to just stay in a continuous state of gratitude all day long, no matter what's happening in my life, it will change the chemistry even in our body. It's so amazing. So what my 7-step system actually can do, and it's all about our inner world, and that inner pharmacy we have, is change the chemistry in your body. So for instance, if we're happy and thriving and really loving our life, our inner pharmacy is kicking out all kinds of sparkling, beautiful chemicals that every single cell in our body is being bathed in.
I love that we call it our inner pharmacy.
Yeah, it's true. It's like all these hormones we have and all of that, right? And everything is just, everything is beautiful and sparkling. However, on the other hand, if we're stressed, if we stay in a toxic relationship and we're not, able to remedy that, or we just choose to stay and not make a better choice for ourselves, we're just releasing way too much cortisol. And over time, that is very toxic to our cells in our body. It's just highly toxic. In fact, it even shows up how well we age, our ability to maintain youthfulness. So it's a lot of fun for me after working with a client for just a little bit of time. Usually the other people in their life will be like, what are you doing? You look so great. Did you have something done to your face? No, it's their inner world.
I'm happier. Yeah.
I'm happier, and my body's releasing chemicals that my cells are loving. So it's all about maintaining youthfulness, sort of as a benefit on the side.
Oh, wow. I love this answer to this question. I love that. I will be honest, someone came up to me yesterday. I was with my 2 children after school. We went for a snack. And a woman that I know from the last summit lives around the corner from me, which is bizarre because it's a global summit. Sure. So I now know her. She said to me, "You look so happy. Something's different." And I was like, "Well, it's because I'm really happy." I think that's really why. But you just gave it science. You just gave it.
Yes. Oh, there's a lot of science behind it. It actually changes the chemistry of our blood. The what's our brain, all of the fluid around our brain and in our spinal cord, everything. It's amazing. It's really.
Mm-hmm. There's the fountain of youth. That's what she's
the fountain of youth. Yes, exactly.
My next question for you is: what is the most difficult decision you've had to make in the pursuit of your destiny?
Oh, that is such a good question. I've had many, and probably the most difficult was after the diagnosis, the misdiagnosis and the new diagnosis. I had to, of course, go off of the one medication and that I should not have been on, that was harmful to me. But the alternative and the only thing that they could give me was an even more powerful toxic medicine. And after being on it for just a short period of time, I started to have precancerous things show up all over my body. Yes, because it basically knocked out part of my immune system.
Wow.
And so I had to make the very difficult decision and go against my doctor's recommendations to stay, or to actually go off of it. And it was the most difficult decision I've ever made in my life, because I was facing many authority figures, doctors, saying, you have to stay on this.
You have to do it.
You have to do this. And I know they were coming from a place of love, because this is the only medication that they could think of that might help me. It wasn't even really approved for this rare condition, but they said, well, we see results, we think it might help you. But the only problem was I was having all these precancerous things showing up. And I've never gone against authority like that in my life. My mom is a nurse practitioner, so I grew up in a medical type of a setting, right? And I just had to go deep within and really discover that. One doctor told me, when I asked him, what would you do if I said, what would you do if I were your wife? And she had all of this happening, and what would you have her do? And he said, oh, well, that's easy. And I had been praying at that point, asking God to hit me over the head with, like, what should I do here? And really, show me a sign and make it a big one. I don't just want to tap on the shoulder here. I really need to, this is very serious. I really need to know what to do. And so this doctor said to me, oh, that's easy. And I was like, oh, thank goodness. Here's my sign. He said, you have to stay on the medication and then just fight the cancers as they come up.
That's the worst answer ever.
I said to myself, I can't live like that.
Oh my God.
So, yes. And I said, the quality of my life is very important. And at that time, I was literally living in the doctor's offices with all of this other stuff showing up as a side effect from the medication.
And you're probably also thinking too, I didn't just go through all of everything I've gone through in my life to get to this point where now I have to fight off cancer that's being caused by medication.
Yes. So I just did the most tremendous and deep soul searching ever in my life. And I said, I'm going to go against all of this I'm going to ramp up what I'm doing in my program, and that is how I'm going to move forward. And I knew, because I had nothing else to rely on but all of this research that I had done for myself. Now, I do not recommend this for anyone to go off of anything. I'm all about practicing everything. Do, the Western medicine, the Eastern medicine, everything possible, right?
Yeah.
But in my case, I felt as though that was the choice I needed to make for me. And I literally said to my doctor, we were discussing this, and I said, with all due respect, doctor, if I'm dead, we don't have to worry about my NMO. And he was silent. And I think he understood then just what I was facing, and yes.
Goosebumps. That's
so I'm a little bit of a study out there right now. I was just phoned a couple of weeks ago by the Mayo Clinic. They're following me.
Good.
They're just like, wow, this is amazing.
Wow. This is really, I think it pays tribute to the power of the mind.
It does.
Yeah.
And it's just incredible. And Dr. Bernie Siegel, who wrote the foreword to my book, is all about the mind-body connection and his experiences as a surgeon. And so I learned so much from him throughout the years too. And just, we have far more power than what we're accessing. But I really do believe the best case scenario is if you have a wonderful medicine that you can stay on and believe in and know that it's helping you, and then also practice all of these other wonderful 7 steps that really bring in into your inner world the transformation that's needed, because it starts there.
Wow. God, that's a crazy decision to have to make.
It was.
Now, let me ask you this. What advice would you give your younger self?
The advice I would give my younger self is to love me more.
Yeah.
Right from the start. Yes. Love is so powerful, and it starts with giving it to ourselves. Yeah. I say we have an ever-present ocean of love within us, and the first place we must extend a powerful dose to is ourselves.
Wow.
And when we do that, and we are authentic, and we honor what we need, what our mind, body, and spirit needs, everything else just falls into place. Yeah. And I believe that had I practiced that, I really believe that I would not have even had that initial diagnosis.
Wow.
But I understand, and I'm grateful for this. I would never want to sign up for it or have this happen to anyone, of course. I don't want to sign up again for this, but I'm grateful for everything that it's brought into my life, because I would not be the person I am today, and I would not be able to affect change in other people's lives and help them transform their lives had I not gone through it.
You're such an inspirational person.
Oh, thank you.
I feel like the answers to these questions are very close to your heart and to who you are on a soulful level.
They truly are.
Oh. So my next question for you may have the same answer as what would the advice be to give your younger self. The next question is, what is the purpose of forgiveness?
It's all about freeing yourself. It's a gift to yourself. It truly is.
Doesn't mean you have to forget necessarily what someone has done to you. Learn your lessons wisely, but to release.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I used to think many, many years ago, that's what it meant. And I struggled with this forgive and forget. I thought, I just, that just didn't sit well with me until I began learning more about it and the true definition of it. And it's absolutely freedom. It's freedom to move forward and live your best life. Just like I, demonstrated to you in my whole piece around when the doctor shared with me, this medication I was on for 16 and a half years that was causing havoc with my body and was so hard to stay on, was toxic, I'm
sure lots of people who are watching are probably wondering if you sued anybody or if you were that angry.
I didn't. No, I didn't, because I knew that, again, it was a gift to me, right? And the freedom of not being in all of that negativity and immersed in all of that negativity for who knows how long was not something that I was willing to put myself through.
Now, isn't that interesting? Because it could have gone either way. You could have been so furious and outraged that you went that direction with the energy and lived in more toxicity, like you said, for who knows how long, but instead you chose to use the energy for good.
Yes, exactly.
Empower yourself.
Exactly. And again, there's that choice I had, it's all about choices. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Oh, I love it. These answers are so beautiful. Now I want to get into your free gift. So can you tell us what the free gift is and how we can use it?
Oh my gosh. I love this free gift, especially because it's Love Month. And I want everybody watching to maybe just make a note on your calendar each day to focus on how I can extend a little more love to myself. My free gift is the 5 keys to discovering your personal expression of self-love. So when you get this free gift, I want you to go through, it's got some wonderful questions that help you go within and discover more about yourself. So it's about learning more about yourself and what are the keys to really loving yourself more. And then each day on your calendar, ask yourself, what can I do today?
Yeah.
That will bring more love, self-love into my life, because it starts with loving ourselves.
Yes.
And self-love is the largest component of self-care.
Yes.
And I like to equate it to the flight attendants when we board a flight. They're always giving us the safety instructions, right? And so they say, if the air mask drop, put your own on first and then assist those around you. It's the same with self-care and self-love.
Yes.
And we've got to take care of ourselves first. And when we do, we're not only better for ourselves and living our best life, but we can help, and we're better for everyone else too. Our children, everybody.
Way better as mothers when we take care of ourselves.
Way better. Yeah.
I want to just get, really quickly, there's so many people, and I've met so many women in my life who feel like self-love is sort of selfish behavior, and it's really not. And I love that you just touched on, we're not going to be good to anybody if we're not taking care of ourselves first.
No, it's not selfish at all. It's self-care. And that is so important. And I believe this is amazing. I think that self-care is really the new healthcare. And that's huge. It really is. If we all extended more self-care and self-love towards ourselves, we would have far less trips to the doctor or anywhere.
Yeah, and you'd be feeding your inner pharmacy.
Feeding our inner pharmacy, exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for this interview. This is fantastic. I absolutely love it. I think you're such an inspirational woman.
Oh, thank you so much. I love you so much. It's been such a pleasure getting to meet you. I feel like we're sisters in
I know.
I really do.
I know, there is a kindred spirit thing going on. We were talking about this on the phone. I think I'm so blessed to know you. And this is, again, one of those things I was talking about earlier. When you're asking for something, be ready for it when it comes to you. I want to be surrounded by powerful, wonderful women, and then here you come walking into my life.
Thank you. Well, I feel the same way about you, and I'm just really looking forward to seeing a beautiful relationship, friendship unfold between us.
I know, me too. Thanks again, Kathryn. Everybody, I just want to say thank you. As always, Kathryn and I would love to know what you thought about today's interview and how you can use some of the ideas and the strategies, to build the life that you want. If you have experience with some of this stuff and you want to share how it's worked for you, we would also love to know that. So please hit reply to the email that you got today with this interview inside of it and share your thoughts with us. I'll pass everything along to Kathryn. She'll love to hear everything you have to hear. Everything you have to say. So thank you so much, everybody, for being on the show today, watching The Empowered Woman. This is the place to come to learn how to challenge your fears, how to powerfully live the life that you want, and become the influential woman that you know you were born to be. So thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Bye. Bye, Kathryn.